to have people continually jumping on here. They know that we officially start at 10 o'clock. Sometimes we have folks that will join us a little early and reserve their seat, make sure everything's working and that type of thing. So I went ahead and hit live, but we'll actually kind of kick things off and get into the weeds right at the 10 o'clock hour. In the meantime, what's been going on in your world? What are you up to?
Well, things have been incredibly busy here. It's been a very, very mild winter for us. So normally this time of year, I'm in 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow when I'm out and about. And right now it looks like Southern California. It's very nice. Not so warm, but the grass is starting to green up and things are looking much better. They're still skiing up in the mountains.
Yeah, you guys are in Utah, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just out there recently. I should have looked you guys up. I went out to Salt Lake City recently, and a lady I'm dating, she was in Park City, I think a couple of weeks prior to that. And it's just absolutely beautiful out that way.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. You know, one of the cool things of Utah is I can be at my home in North Ogden, and it's very mountains. I've got deer that come through my yard all the time. And within a couple of hours south of me, it's a real desert scene with red rock and just fantastic. Moab's not too far away, and you can be in a completely different climate just within a few minutes. And there's actually folks this time of year that'll go golfing in the morning and skiing in the afternoon, or skiing in the morning, golfing in the afternoon, all within 15, 20 minutes of each other. So that's a pretty amazing environment that we're in. That
is incredible. We were out in December, and one of the gentlemen that was along for the ride, kind of like me, he got up and went golfing every day. And I know originally he did not anticipate to do that, but the weather was so nice, he was actually able to kind of get out and hit some balls. So that was a good thing. Yeah. I'm surprised you don't have some snow, but you're not completely out of the woods yet. You may
they said a big storm possibly in the next day or so, but we'll be looking back.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that for us, I lived in Chicago for about 7 years, the metropolitan area, not downtown, but we weren't concerned about the snow because everyone's prepared for that. You can push it around real well. Down in Kentucky, where I live now, and here in Tennessee, where I'm at today, if they even just say the word snow, they're closing the schools down, and you're out of milk and bread at the grocery stores. It's incredible. So just the idea that that's going to happen. So what's going on new with you guys? I mean, we're going to hold all the good stuff until we get started at 10 o'clock, but do you travel around a little bit and talk on this subject? Or
I have been for the last 9 months or so. We've had a pretty busy schedule everywhere from Alaska to Florida. And I was at the MBREA convention conference not too long ago, speaking about data and DataMaster. So I've been able to kind of move around a little bit. I know we're going to be your direction later this spring at the convention. We always seem to hit the Val Expos and the summits and a lot of those events. But we're also doing a lot of smaller chapter type of things, NIFA chapter events, AI chapter events, where they're looking for maybe some chapter developed CE. And this is a great topic for them, whether you're a seasoned residential guy or just coming into the business. Data's important, and handling that. And so we get a lot of opportunity to move around the country, and we try and take advantage of and support whatever we can. Big supporters of the industry in general, and that comes from our founder Rick. He's got he's really passionate about the industry, which has really been good to work with him.
That's fantastic. Well, Jerry, I have 10 o'clock on the nose, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We have several viewers on already, and we have more and more pouring in minute by minute, but we're going to be on time. So we're going to start right on time. It's 10 o'clock, and we're going to try to finish up on time. We may go a minute or two after. I would say good morning and welcome anybody that's already joined in. My name is Brian Reynolds, and this is the Appraisal Report webinar. We're happy to have you here. We've got some exciting stuff going on over at Appraiser eLearning, but we're excited about our special guest today. We've got appraisers, we've got realtors, we've got bankers, we've got industry analysts on, and we're really excited about the audience that continues to grow minute by minute. I'd like to let our viewers know that this session, as all of our webinars, are being recorded. So if you can only stop in for a minute and you want to catch the rest, feel free to look us up. You can see a recorded version pretty quickly after the webinar. So we're happy to provide that. These webinars are a really good price. They're free. And we encourage any of our viewers, if you've got a hot topic or someone you'd like to have on the program, that you reach out to myself or Ben or Hal, one of the team, and let us know who you'd like to see in the hot seat, if you will. So I'm real excited today. We have Mr. Jared Preisler with us. He is the Chief Appraiser and Director of Product Development at DataMaster. So Jared, say hi to everybody and tell them how they can get in touch with you if they'd like to.
Brian, thanks very much. Hello to everyone. The best way to contact us is you can go to datamasterusa.com/reports, and there's a great link there that you can hit me. That's the easiest thing to remember. Again, it's datamasterusa.com and then just /reports. We are always monitoring that area, but I'm happy to be here. This is exciting for me, and just really excited to share some information with everybody, some things that I think are very important and pertinent for right now. So great. Well,
Jared, before we actually get into some of the specifics of what DataMaster does, if you don't mind, I gave your title, but if you don't mind, tell everybody that's watching a little bit about you specifically. Are you an appraiser? How long have you been an appraiser? A little bit of a history lesson, if you will, on you. I'd like to know who we're talking to.
Sure, Brian. So kind of the way that I got to where I am right now, I'll start back just a little bit. I've been appraising a little over 20 years, about 21 years. Prior to that, I was a partner in a remodeling business. We did roofs and windows, kitchens, all of those different types of things, siding. A little bit before that, I was an investor. I owned 64 rental properties, managed them myself. And so real estate and property has been a passion of mine for a long time. About 20 years ago, I started appraising. And in 2011, I finished up my SRA designation. The market had kind of slowed down a little bit for us in Utah, and that gave me some opportunity to finish things on my to-do list. And then in 2014, I became a national instructor for the Appraisal Institute. And I still have today a very active, robust fee appraisal business. And we have staff, and it seems like every day I'm out in the field doing some appraisal work or reviewing reports, finishing them up and sending them in, just like most of those who are listening to us. In October of 2016, Rick Liffrith, the founder of DataMaster, approached me. Rick is one of those guys that's been in the industry for a long time. And he was one of my mentors when I first got into the business. And he approached me and said, hey, we have a need here at DataMaster for another appraiser that could help us directing our new product, keep us in touch with what our users need. And so I joined the DataMaster team, and at first it was kind of part-time, and now it's become more full-time, and I'm excited to show you some of the things that we've been working on. But I have the distinct role of DataMaster wants me to stay connected, continue to appraise, so that I'm using the tool real life. I'm out and about, understanding what appraisers need. And at the same time, I get to be in the background and help develop the product and answer the appraisal related questions. So
Boy, that's good to hear, and I can appreciate that. Personally speaking, you know, I'm an instructor. I teach live classes, and of course, I'm here with the folks at Appraiser eLearning that we're trying to do things a little different for the online format. Excited about that, but you know, I don't think there's any question that I may be just a little bit better instructor than what I would be if I wasn't still out there, boots on the ground. I mean, I think my students appreciate that when you know, and I'm not saying that the instructors out there that haven't done an appraisal in 30 years can't be a good instructor. Please don't send me any hate mail, folks. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying I think I can relate just a little bit better to the guy or the gal in the office dealing with that revision request for the third time, because guess what? I do that too. It drives me crazy. So I'm glad to hear that you're not just in an office at DataMaster all the time. You're still a practicing appraiser, so you can kind of relate. And I'm sure it benefits DataMaster as well. So with that being said, just in case we have some viewers out there that don't know, I'd like to ask you a couple of real quick just questions on the front end here. Okay. What is DataMaster? I mean, what is DataMaster? Who are they? And what the heck do they do? So I'll give you a few minutes to answer those questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. So DataMaster has been around for a long time. It actually started many years even before I was appraising as kind of a data service. And then it evolved into a co-op. And at one time, I was part of a co-op many, many years ago. And then as technology improved and things expanded, DataMaster went to the software world. And essentially, basically what DataMaster allows an appraiser to do is be completely in control of their information. The appraiser selects their comparables that they want from their own MLS and the information that they want for the 1004MC, and they give us that export file, and then we merge all of that data, normalize it or customize it for them, import it into any of the major form software, and we do that in seconds.
Wait a minute. Whoa. You said within seconds? Is that what you said?
Within seconds. Once we get that information, they're ready to send it in. It doesn't matter if it's 5 comps or 3 or 9. The 1004MC form, it all populates within just a few seconds. And the great thing about it is, it saves me hours and hours. You know, I think conservatively speaking, between the 1004MC and my reports are normally 6 comparables. They're normally 4 solds and one or two actives are under contracts. If I had to type all that in, I would spend at least an hour to an hour and 15 minutes more than with DataMaster. And the great thing is that early on, Rick realized and DataMaster realized that every appraiser across the country is different. Their needs are different. Fireplaces might be really important in Utah, where we get a lot of snow. And even I might want that fireplace to come to type out a little different than one of my peers. And so the flexibility with DataMaster for any appraiser to consistently have that data from their MLS come in exactly the way they want it, so they don't have to retype anything. And of course, it's all a little dependent on the information that comes from the MLS. So if we don't have information, we can't make it up. But at the same time, in the background, we merge that comparable information with public records. And we ask the appraiser to verify which document number verifies that sale. Everything is displayed. So within a few seconds, I can verify and recognize that was actually a sale. And I do want to continue using it. So I don't have to go down to the courthouse anymore, like we did back in the day. It all comes in very quickly. And that's our core function and we actually have a patent that on the way that we do it, it's patented and very consistent, and it's been a solid product. I think the software version started in 2002, and so it's been a mainstay. And we cover, and we'll get into this maybe a little bit more. Maybe that answers that question, but we can go into a little bit of coverage area. We we have MLS contracts with about 70% of the country. The MLS is across the country, so we're not everywhere. And there's those contracts are pretty key to what to our functionality and why we can do what we do.
Hey, on that topic, and I do want to start getting into some specifics here of how this works. But you just mentioned something about being in, I believe, 70% of MLSs. So there is a segment out there that you guys haven't touched. What if we've got some folks out there? What if we've got some viewers that are in a market area and they say, pick me, pick me? You know, they're interested. By the end of this webinar, they're dazzled and they want to give you a try, but you're not available in that particular market today. I know I've talked to some of your other folks, Bo, and he's talking about expanding, but what if we've got a group of appraisers in a particular area and they really want you to come down to their neighborhood or their market area? What could they do to try to get your attention to let you know they're interested in your product?
You know, there's really two key things for us. One of the things would be, number one, let us know which area you're in and the MLS, the primary MLS that you work with. And then the second thing is help us with an introduction to your MLS. So if you've got somebody, a friend that's on the board of the MLS, or you know the director of the MLS, you've worked with them maybe to get some additional data that you know appraisers need in your area, that contact will really speed the process. A good example, last April, I was teaching a CE class up in Alaska, and there was quite a bit of interest in our product. We weren't in Alaska. It was a residential applications class for the AI. And by May, we were fully integrated with their MLS and had that market covered. But there was a lot of effort by the appraisers on their side as well. They saw the value of what we do for them. By the way, I didn't mention we can also bring in up to 16 graphs off your information in that same several seconds into your report as well.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on some of those details in a minute. I want you to show some of your stuff because it's really fantastic, folks, and I want you to see it firsthand. So I think you heard the answer with Jared. If you're in a market area that they're not currently servicing, reach out to them, shake them a little bit, throw something at them, get their attention, let them know that you're interested in them coming to your market, and they'll probably start moving in that direction. So just make some noise, appraisers. So let's actually get into this a little bit. I've got a lot of questions for you, Jared, and I'm sure our viewers have questions. And I'd like to remind anyone that's viewing, you can simply type in a question. It'll be routed to me, and we'll ask Jared, and we'll certainly get to as many questions as we possibly can during the course of the webinar. So if you have any questions, fire away. We're ready for you. All right. So let's start at the very beginning. And I think one of the most important questions I have to try to understand this process is, heck, I've got access to my MLS. I mean, I can go into my MLS and search data and pull up stuff. I can fine tune a neighborhood and a segment of the neighborhood. I can pick the comparables I want out of that. I think that in most MLSs, you can actually customize a little report and extract some of that data and play around with it. So what do you guys do, or what do you have access to, Jared, that I don't?
Great question, Brian, and you're absolutely correct. The MLSs that we interface with, they have an export type feature. So let's talk just a little bit about data in general, so that we have kind of an understanding. There's three types of data or categories that we can put access to data in. Number one is the one that you just described, and that's an export file, where you have legitimate access to your MLS. You've logged in, selected your comparables, and gone through some sort of export routine. And some of those are very customized and allow you to kind of move fields around. And they create either a export file that's a CVS file, or something you can import into
CVS is what I can do. I can pull out a CVS.
Right, and then you could read that into an Excel spreadsheet or some way that. On that export side, you're really limited to what you can get out by what the MLS allows you. So they might say, Brian, you can have the list date and the sold date, and the list price and the sold price, and the MLS number and the address. And maybe, we've seen some MLSs that limit to maybe 50 columns, some that expand it out and give them access to maybe 200 columns. But it's all dependent on what your MLS will allow. And you can, in most cases, you can see more on the website of the MLS than you can actually get out. And so that's an export file. And then there's another type of data export or a data category, extraction category called an IDX feed. And what the IDX feed is that's what real estate agents use to interface with companies like Zillow or Trulia, Realtor.com. And that's a great system or setup for the agents to be able to market their properties. And it has a couple of key events or key components. They can send anything they want. So if the listing says that it's 1,600 square feet, but the county records say it's 1,590, they could actually send to Zillow 1,650. There, maybe there was a little addition in the back or some bay windows that weren't recorded. There's no check or balance. There's no verification of that data.
So wait a minute. Let me pause right there. Let me make sure I have a clear understanding of this. You're saying that the IDX feed that goes to these other entities, and some people say you were cussing a while ago saying Zillow. I know. So I was just teasing.
Especially the non-disclosure state guys are probably just dying.
Right.
Get that a lot.
Right. But the IDX feed that you're referring to, if I'm understanding what you're saying, there's more information in that feed that goes out to these other parties that appraisers aren't privy to. Is that what you're saying?
In a lot of cases, yes. All of the photos could go with that.
Amazing.
But the broker is the one that really controls that listing, and the broker decides what information gets up and even which listings get sent and which don't get sent. Sometimes they might have a pocket listing that they already have a client to buy, and they don't want to put that up on Zillow. They want to keep that. That's a sale for themselves. So it's really a great marketing tool. And the problem with a marketing tool like that is when we try to use that data for something it's not designed for. So if I try to figure out where the market's going, which direction prices are going, or how many days on market by using that type of information, I'm going to be going down the wrong, from the very beginning, I'm going to have the wrong analysis.
You're only getting part of the actual data that's available.
And a very skewed part at that. So, but it's very, very good. Don't discount the power of an IDX feed. For what they use it for, it's fantastic. So the last type of data or way that we get data is called a RETS feed, RETS. And the RETS feed is kind of the backbone of the MLS. It has all of the information. We've seen RETS feeds that have 9,000 data points per listing.
Wow.
And so every time they're time stamped, every time an agent goes in and makes a comment, not only do we get that comment change, but the time stamp in which they did it, who it was that did it. Everything that's available or that's generating what you see on the front end. And so what DataMaster does that's different is we go to the MLS and we say, we would like access to that RETS feed, because that's the data that the appraiser needs to be able to do the best report that they can do. It's the best data. It's the complete data. And so in our scenario, when you create an export file, we take that export file and we only look at one piece of it. We look at the MLS listing. We go to the RETS feed, and then we marry that MLS number up with the RETS number, and we then pull in directly from that RETS feed everything that's on the back end, exactly, live the way that it is. And that's powerful, especially there's lots of cases, and I'm going to show you a few things in a minute as to how we leverage that extra data that makes it more powerful for the appraiser.
Jared, that's really amazing. I mean, you're really kind of blowing me away, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers, when you tell me that as a practicing appraiser, when I go on to the MLS, I can secure a certain amount of data, right? But you, it sounds like through your relationship with these various boards around the country, you've kind of gotten access via the keys to the back door, if you will. And so when I'm getting a segment of the data on a particular property, whether it be a listing or sold, you're getting up to 9,000 data points on that same listing or sold property.
Right. And a lot of times it even connects to prior listings of that same property. It's just amazing. Before I came to DataMaster, I didn't understand a lot of what the power was. And I've sat in the back room with the programmers and watched these feeds. And it's just amazing the amount of data that is there. And it's not cheap data, you just can't go back in and screen scrape this stuff or get it. And the MLSs are very protective of it, as they should be. That it's important information. But I feel more confident as an appraiser in my conclusions, my results, because I know that I've had access to the best data, the complete set of data.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to see some of this in action. I'm going to let you kind of load something up here in just a second. I've got a couple of questions coming in. I'm going to ask you one or two, and then we'll take some more after you give us a little demonstration of some data there, because I'm excited to see what you've got to show us. But let's see. Scott G asked a question, and Scott says, do we correct issues when DataMaster is importing data incorrectly from my MLS in Maryland, specifically the below grade data he's asking about?
So that's a great question. I'm sorry, I missed his name on the front end there. Scott. Yeah. So Scott, great question. When we get the information from the agent, if the agents put that below grade square footage in the above grade with total square footage for whatever reason, at DataMaster, we're not going to make an appraiser decision for you. So you need to look at that and say, hey, there was an error, and it was an error in where the data was placed on the front end. And so a lot of times we struggle with these types of issues, whether it be something like a square footage issue or a bathroom issue. I can think of a specific issue where we've got an MLS that doesn't count bathrooms very accurately. But then they'll go in the public record or the public remarks section, and they'll type in there's a bathroom on the main floor and a half bath on the main floor. And we can actually parse through that data, and we know that it's there. But should DataMaster make that decision electronically, or should the appraiser with eyes on make that? One of the things that we're going to do, though, is we have an exceptions report or a discrepancy report. So as you're getting ready to import that information in, we're going to tell you public record said this was the basement. The MLS said this was the basement. There's a conflict. The appraiser should make the determination as to what that is. And so we try and give all the tools, but we try not to be the appraiser. It's not us signing the report. It's the appraiser that's certifying that report.
Sure. I'd like for you to go ahead and maybe get us in a particular example, if you could, Jared, and we'll pull that up, and you can kind of walk us through, and we can actually see some of this in action. I would also like to remind appraisers one thing. We as human beings, and in particular of appraisers and realtors and bankers and economists, we resist change. I mean, we get in our lives where we're in that comfort level. And, I use an example, probably a bad one, but have you ever met someone that's been married 40 years and they can't stand each other? or have you ever met someone and they've worked a job for 30 years and say, man, you must really love your job. And he says, no, I've hated it the last 29 years. Well, why are you still there? Well, it's a job, right? We resist change. That's human nature. We just resist change. If you haven't read the little book, Who Moved My Cheese, I recommend you to buy that book immediately and take a little read on that. It talks about someone moving the cheese, and they didn't like it too much. Guys, how many of you type your appraisal reports on a typewriter? We used to do that. How many of you use the 35 millimeter cameras out there that you take the 1 hour photo booth and then have to go pick it up 2 hours later? It just doesn't make sense. Okay. So there are tools available for us these days, and we really need to at least try them. Do what your mom and grandmother used to say when you were at the dinner table and you didn't want to try those vegetables. Just try them. You might like them. So I encourage folks to at least try technology, at least try the tools that are available to you. At the end of the day, if you don't like them, then discard them. Don't use them. But don't make a preconceived opinion of something unless you've tried it. It may be wonderful for you, okay? I'd also like to remind our viewers, the Appraisal Report webinar is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. If you know of a guest you'd like to see on a future episode, give us a ring, give us an email, and we will invite them to participate in an upcoming webinar. We have our webinars the fourth Thursday of every month, and the cost is $0 to you. So we're excited to bring folks in, and in particular, we're excited today to have Jared on with us from DataMaster. So back to you, Jared. Let's see what you got on the screen.
So what I'm going to show you today, Brian, is our newest product. This is some information, some data from Portland. And so as we go through this, will highlight some of the information that we can leverage. So what you're looking at is once the appraiser has created kind of an export file for their comparables, they come and they get loaded in this way. And I'm just going to start with a couple of things. We have a routine to help them up front kind of look at the deeds. So this is what our deed selection looks like. We display the MLS listing history above. And then I can just simply select and say, yep, that warranty deed there matches up to this sold information. If I wanted to bring in all of the prior listings, I would just have to click those prior listings. And whatever I click is going to come into my report through the exceptions. And you'll notice that once I selected that, this little doc number now shows up in this comparable number 1 spot, and that my verification has happened. Now, I can have this customized to however I want. If I'd rather have the agent's phone number, name and phone number come in there, we see it lots of different ways all over the country. Whatever field UAD allows us to customize, you're going to be able to have access to that. So that's just one of those things that we're able to show all of that information in a really nice one place so that you can make the decisions that you need to make and you're not hunting all over for it. One of the other things that we've been able to do is recreate this MLS sheet. So this is all of the data that relates to this property in Portland. And you can kind of see all of the stuff that we've been able to get out of that RETS feed, and we can display it. And then we throw the history here down on the bottom. You can print that or save it to PDF and put it into your work file. Either way, it's very convenient. One of the other things that I really like is, it's our whole idea with this is that we're going to present to you the right information at the right time to make your decisions. And so the photos, we all rely quite a bit on photos. This is a prime example of that RETS feed, the power of that RETS feed. So here I've got this information that's come in on this comparable. I can flip through each of the photos. I can see whatever the agent has given us. I can just click through. I can make any of these my main photo if I wanted to, but all of the photos are there. And I could quickly go through and see if this has been remodeled or updated. Knowing this area being geographically competent, this is fantastic. I don't have to flip back and forth between the MLS and my forms software. Then once I've kind of made some decisions, I have the agent remarks right here. They're just highlighted. So we brought those in so that you can review them as you're looking at this. And then I can just make a determination. To me, don't judge. I'm just going to select some things here. This maybe is a builder quality home. And we've got a little synopsis of what the Q4 means in the quality. if you'd like, you can click the link and the entire definition from Fannie Mae shows up there for you.
Nice.
So right at your fingertips, and then maybe condition. This looks like maybe it's a C3 again. I might even want to make some comments as to why that happened. So now I can save this rating. I'm done with that comparable, and you'll notice that right down in the grid, my Q4 and C3 showed up. So I'm pretty much finished with that one. So having those photos right there at my fingertips with the agent comments, everything being able to select, really leverages my time. This is a new feature in our new product. The other thing that we thought was, well, we have some technology where we can grab and look at some maps as well. And so here's your Google Street View. I can look right down here. Looks to me like this is kind of a regular neighborhood. Again, overall location, neutral, residential. But I can see instantly side by side whether or not, maybe they're on a busy street or some hazard or maybe a thoroughfare or something like that I would need to deal with. So I can always adjust these later once I've visited the property, but this gives me kind of a head start. Again, we save this and it goes right back into the report in the way that it should be formatted properly. So that kind of gives you some information, or kind of a view of how we're leveraging that on the comps grid. And all of these different fields we can customize and make sure that they come in the way that you want them to come in as the
so you're saying
appraiser.
Your individual clients, the individual appraiser, can have you customize for their specific office how they want that to come into each given field. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And even by login. So if you're in an office and you like it to be one way and I like it to be the other way, each of our logins can give something individual. So here's a good example: fireplaces. I can format this really quick. Maybe I like the fireplaces to be all spelled out. And if there's more than one fireplace, then maybe I want it to be the little S on the end there.
Gotcha.
I just save that. And now you'll notice that all of my fireplaces, now it's all spelled out. I need to do it also with the subject. So we allow the subject to be customized independently. We have some forms you might want to have the subject information come in and then the comparable say superior, equal. Maybe you're doing something
Sure.
qualitative instead of quantitative. So that's just a real good example of one of the fields that you could custimise.
So on that exterior features, if I'm in an area of the country where pools are pretty prevalent, you could add a line item there where the pools would automatically drag in, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So the three fields at the bottom, you have full access to the label and then the data that comes into each of those. And you can see here in the exterior feature type, this one's got several items coming all into the same field. So you're not limited to just one item per
Sure.
line. You could bring many items in. So yeah, however you like your business, we're not going to try and change the way your workflow is, but we're going to augment or work with enhance your workflow.
Right. So back where you are right now under that quality of construction and the condition, is that how you went in and, kind of made your own assessment and then put those in? I noticed your comp 3 already has a Q4 there. Was that done, or did it pull the data in that way? I'm just curious.
So there's two ways that can get in. It happened to be I was making sure before we started that there was no hiccups, and so I did that one before we started. But if you had used this property before and we had recognized that, then we would bring in what you did before.
Perfect.
And so and that kind of brings up another good thing here. Just at your fingertips, we can show you the data sources. So here's the area, the site area. Here's what the Portland MLS says it is. Here's what the public record says it is. Do I want to rely more on the MLS or on the public record for that particular field? I don't know. I don't live in Portland. The Portland guys can tell us, you know, if they like this better, just hit save. And now that's what's going to be viewed. You know, that's what it's going to be that's what's going to rely on.
Right.
So we've got all kinds of little Easter eggs or nuggets within here of other little things that, you know, really today we probably don't have a lot of time for.
And what I'm looking at, and what I'm excited about right now, Jared, is, you know, I could go on that Google app and look at the street myself. I could pull public records. I could pull MLS, see that difference and make it but boy, you just make it all right here at my fingertips with a quick click, and it's all right here, like I'm at a command center and can make a decision immediately. I love it.
Absolutely.
Hey, I've got a couple of questions. If you don't mind, let's ask those because it's pertinent to the section you're in right now. Frederick, and these questions are kind of similar, so I'm going to ask two back to back for you. Frederick said, are these features available in San Diego? My DataMaster screen does not have these. And Shannon asked, my DataMaster looks a little bit different. Do I have an older version, or is this a new product or a different product?
Thank you both, Frederick and Shannon. So this is, we're showing our new product. The new product is actually headed to San Diego very, very soon. I'm probably not supposed to say, but I'll tell you, we're in the final stages of some testing with it, and would love to have some beta testers in that area, but we're very close. So if you'll reach out to us, both of you probably have our information. If you'll reach out to us and let us know if you'd like to be beta testers for us, we'd love that. But San Diego is very, very, very close, right around the corner. And we're excited to get this in CRMLS and Sandacor.
Great. Anything else on this screen, Jared, do you want to show? Or I mean, I could talk to you all day. The clock's running quickly though, so if there's some other little screenshot you wanted to show, I want to.
Yeah, let me just flip over to our market conditions. This is probably like Zillow, one of those swear words around the industry, and so we've tried to really help and enhance this and give the appraisers a lot of information so they don't have to spend a lot of time here. Number one, we're going to show them the report very similar to how they're seeing it. We did add the top of page 2 of the URAR so that you can see exactly what's going in there. And then as always, even in our existing product, we have the paragraphs below. All of this data is customizable. The numbers that are in here, like this 42 closed sales, those are actually data tags, and they come in on the fly with exactly the information that was inputted. So this is pretty standard with all of our DataMaster products. What's not is this detail section. So this to me was fantastic when we got it. What I'm looking at is a spreadsheet of all of the information, all of the listings that are in this particular set of data. But sometimes I can't, I want to see it broken out by segment. So now if I just click on the 7 to 12 month tab here, it gives me only those that were listed during the 7 to 12 months, what their status was during that time, and then what their status is now. So this top one that I've got highlighted in blue, it was listed 7 to 12 months ago. It has now sold. Here's the list date, the list not list time, the close date, etc. And there's a lot of other columns here. This is very interactive. So if maybe an outlier came in or something just doesn't look right to you as the appraiser, and you're kind of wondering what happened, you can easily flip through here and find maybe that outlier, and it's a simple matter of just highlighting it and hitting delete, and that MLS will now listing will come out.
Sure. So what you're referring to is the appraiser. Now, if you have a reason, folks, don't go in to make something dance the way you want it to do just because you want it to dance a particular way. The data is the data, but a lot of times when we get into this analysis of data, what Jared said was an outlier. That would be indicative of of a far extreme for whatever reason. You need to research that and find out. But it sounds like you have the ability to go in and manipulate the data if there is a reason to manipulate the data.
Absolutely. I was looking at some the other day, and everything was in about the 250, 270 price per square foot range. And then we had one that was 380 price per square foot.
Yeah.
It had a really big lot. The agent had mislisted the lot size. It was just a big outlier. It didn't belong in this data set at all. It was very easy for me to find that and to parse it out and move on. And so that was a very capable, very powerful tool right there. One thing some appraisers might like, and I do some retrospective work. I don't know, Brian, maybe you do some retrospective work. We have the ability, let's say that I actually inspected this property last Saturday. I can just change the effective date, and now everything is updated on the fly.
Instantly.
If I come back to today, you can kind of see those numbers. But what if you're doing a report for an estate settlement that maybe the effective date was 9 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
You can bring in all your data, and we'll let you bring in multiple data feeds. So you can bring in lots, and we'll just continue to amend it. And then I can just simply go back 9 months from now. I can go back and make that 9 months ago. It's now my effective date, and that information will change. So now I'm looking at what the market was looking at 9 months ago.
That's incredible. Let me just pause right here for a minute. This screen that you have up right now is fantastic, because in my market where I work, and that's back in Kentucky. I have an office in Nashville too, where we do some stuff. I try not to work as much as I can, but my prior listings, the active, I don't have available. I can't get that data. And it sounds like it might be as a consequence of I have that CVS access where you've got the RETS feed. You have the ability to acquire more data because you've got the master key, if you will, to the local MLS machine, where I don't have that master key, I assume.
Absolutely. That is exactly right. And evident of that is in that details section where we can actually tell you when it was under contract, when it was listed, what it is now. So yeah, that's part of the power of this. And that also powers our graphs. And so we've got 25 different graphs that you can pull in that are already pre-done for you. It's a matter of just selecting which ones you want, which is really easy. I have a lot of graphs I like to look at, but not, sometimes I don't want to bring all of those in. So maybe I'm only going to bring in 3 or 4, but I want to look at all of them. That helps me understand. Sure. Being able to look at this month by month is much better than trying to look at those columns in the report. Sure. And so we have all of the graphs, and these are all customizable. If you don't like these blue and green colors, you can make it whatever color you want it to be, literally. And so then we have a little bit of a summary that we just put this together. This is data that's just fed from that information that you as the appraiser brought in. And some of this will look very familiar to you. What's the mean? That's the average in the sale price that's in here. The median, the mode, that's the predominant. The range of value, list price, year built. How would you like to be able to know exactly what's in your data set there? The range is a 38-year range, 1970 to 2008 at a glance. Age, GLA, lot size. Oh, maybe that one. Look, I've got 2 here that maybe really don't belong in this data set. And then we took it a little bit farther, and we actually can look and see what kind of transaction there was. So how many of these were conventional loans? How many of them were FHA? What percentage of the market? This helps me maybe if I'm looking at concessions. FHA might be more predominantly concessions, and I need to maybe analyze that. So we've got a lot of this different information that over the years the appraisers have asked us if we could display for them, and it's all just right here at your fingertips, and helps you kind of understand what that market is. So the 1004 MC, lots of information, all available, and I can even just make my determinations here. with whatever it might be after I've looked at all of the information. Again, the right amount of data, right time for you to make the right decision.
That's amazing.
And then our simple export. So before you export, we're going to give you kind of an example. Here's what you're exporting. You've got 8 properties here. There's 88 properties in our market conditions. 4 graphs were selected to come in. So a little bit of a summary. And then here's that exceptions report that I was talking about. The number of stories in RMLS says 2. CoreLogic said 1. We use whichever public records we found to be most accurate for that particular area. And sometimes it's CoreLogic, sometimes we've got several different public records that we can leverage. All of this information can come into your report with just the click of a button. We copy this exceptions report, paste it right into your comments addendum. If you want the agent comments, great. We have a feature where you can turn those off as well. So on every single comparable that's here, all of this comes in, and then I just hit export, and it'll go right into the report once I'm ready to go that way. So that's kind of, we didn't talk a lot about the subject side, but we actually have all of these fields that you could, if you wanted to, make your determination for your neighborhood, your house, all of that right here. Some of you might have templates that you can leverage this a little bit better in your form software. Great, but if not, we can help you with it right at this spot as well. I also can deal with the subject deeds the same way as the comparable deeds. So again, everything, even if it's a refinance and we find a listing for it, we'll be able to bring that and help you with it. So
Great.
Really, we think this can really save appraisers more than an hour on working on their reports. And one other feature, I didn't show you a map. We can print out a map. So if you like to do all of this work here, go and drive your neighborhood, inspect your subject, then we've got a map for you. I can actually tell you how far away each of the properties are from your subject property. So maybe you might want to reorder these. Say, well, this one's the closest. I want it to be comp number 1. So you can move them around within here too. There's just tons, Brian, just tons and tons of little nuggets and Easter eggs to find.
Sure. Well, let me go over a couple of things real quick, Jared, and then we'll. We're running out of time, and I think and the questions keep coming in, so I think we're going to have you back, if you will, because we just can't cover everything that we need to cover in an hour. And I want to read something right out of USPAP just real quickly, and then I want to tell you about a real story that happened to a friend of mine. And it makes you think a little bit. So just real quick, Advisory Opinion 37, which is new for USPAP effective January 1st. So if you don't have your new USPAP book, you better get it. You better get it into a class quickly. And I'm on page 173. If anybody, I feel like I'm in church. Take your Bible out. We'll read this together, right? But on page 173, this is Advisory Opinion 37. It talks about competency for a minute. And it talks about competency may apply to factors such as, but not limited to, the appraiser's familiarity with a specific type of property asset, a geographic area. So you got to know your area. And it ends with saying, or an analytical method. And so I want to talk about that real quickly, because there was a gentleman, it was a court case, and the expert witness had said the area is in a declining market, and he had support for that opinion. The other expert said it's a stable market. And when cross-examination came along, they said, well, what support do you have to testify as an expert? It's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. But what support do you have to say this is a stable market? And the appraiser, so-called expert, said, well, that's just my opinion. Yes, we know that's your opinion, but what are you basing it upon? Well, it's just my opinion, but what are you basing your opinion on? Years of experience, right? That doesn't work anymore, guys. The other expert, when asked, well, what are you basing your opinion on that this market is in declining? You testified it's declining. The other expert testified it's stable. What support do you have? He said, I'm glad you asked that, because I've spent months compiling data to help me develop my opinion that it's declining. I have data here I'd like to present that shows the number of foreclosures in the market, the number of boarded up houses in the market, the number of withdrawals, the number of listings, the number of expired listings, the listings and the extended periods of time it takes to sell, and then what they sell for. They're selling at extremely lower amounts than what they sold for in prior period. So here's my evidence, or here's my support, if you will, for my opinion that this is a declining market. Now, I asked my friend, how long did it take you to compile that data? And he said it took forever. But boy, he helped that side, or his testimony. He's a neutral party to the transaction, but they ruled based on his opinion. My point is that took a long time. And boy, it sure sounds like, Jared, you've got the tools that you could probably come to that conclusion pretty quickly.
I think that DataMaster is it's the gold standard. We would love to be everywhere. So if you're interested in our product, please let us know. And we would love to get your comments, your feedback. This is a product that's driven by data, or it's driven by the appraiser's need and powered by the data. And that's really what makes it very, very powerful. So Brian, thanks for having me on. I am just thrilled to be able to talk about data with everyone and this subject. And again, if we come back, I'd love it. I'm going to be at the NAA conference in April. Maybe you have a little bit more information on that, but I'll be actually presenting there and on this topic and kind of expanded. We're going to actually talk a little bit about home inspections as well, and how they're interacting with the data, or with the valuation process, and give some valuable information for appraisers there. But we'll be there in force, and they'll be able to have hands on this application and be able to look at it as well.
Great. Jared, I know I've only got you for about 7 more minutes, so I'm going to have to apologize to our viewers. We've got lots of questions still coming in. David, Colleen, Tim, just to mention the three I can see on my screen, we've got about 7 or 8 questions. I'm going to ask you one final question, and then if you don't mind to share your contact information again, I assume you'd be happy to reach out to these folks that have questions. Absolutely. We just ran out of time for. But my final question, if somebody's interested, tell them, number one, how they can try you out. I know you've got some type of trial that you guys offer. And then number two, my final question is, one of the things that USPAP is concerned about is that people don't just quote statistics or analytic. They at least know a little bit about it. Okay. They might not need to know how your machine works, but they need to know kind of a summary or an overview. So do you guys provide training? What is your support system for your users? That type of thing.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of documentation on our website. For example, the 1004MC, how we calculate those. And so that if you need some documentation, or for your work file, you need to understand. And we're absolutely big believers in understanding what's happening behind the scenes. And we got full-time staff that help with training, customer support, either on a one-on-one basis. We have a bunch of training videos, webinars that we've recorded over time. About once a month, we try to do an advanced training, which goes into some of the details on customization and some of the other things. So we're gonna be there for you with whatever the appraiser's needs are. As far as specials, we are always running specials. I'm not on the marketing side, but I know one of the specials that I heard just recently was you could try us out. I think it's $49 for a 6-week period. It might be a little bit different than that. But I know that if you call up and you ask for one of the sales guys, they're right up to date on all those different specials. And one of the things about our trial is we would like to see actually use it. So when you call in, you're not going to just get a link to download it. We'd like you to send us maybe a copy of page 2 of your report. We're going to help you customize it, and we want to see you actually move some information into your forms vendor, into the form software, so you can see that it works and you're confident and comfortable with it. Often we get things, and maybe this looks really complicated. It's not, but you need a little bit of direction with it. We want to make sure that you get off that phone feeling very comfortable to go and do your next report. Bo was telling me just the other day he had a gal that was very prepared for her demo, and she actually brought 3 reports with her, and in 40 minutes they moved 3 reports worth of data into her software. It was fantastic.
Wow.
And they were very, very excited about it. So the more you're prepared and engaged with us, the better we're going to be able to help you. It just kind of like anything in life, But yeah, thank you, Brian. It's been fantastic. And I'd absolutely like to respond to any of those questions that are there.
How can they reach out to you one more time?
So the best way is datamasterusa.com/reports. There's also a support link there, but if you go to datamaster.com or datamasterusa.com, you'll be able to easily get a hold of us. So thank you.
Very good. And Jared, I appreciate the time and you being here today. I'd like to remind everyone, Jared said he's going to be a guest speaker or featured speaker at the ACTS trade show is what he was talking about. It's called the Appraisers Conference and Trade Show. I believe that's April 8th and 9th, and it's right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So we'd invite everybody to be the National Association of Appraisers in cooperation with Appraiser eLearning. We're hosting that, so we're excited to be a partner in that. And we're going to start kind of moving around. I think they mentioned maybe coming to Utah here real soon. So we're going to be moving that conference around, and we're excited about it. It's for appraisers, mostly by appraisers, and we're real excited. Do you know what day you're speaking at that event, Jared?
I think it was the Tuesday, but I'm not exactly sure.
Great.
I think it's the Tuesday.
Folks, you can look that up on the NAA website, get more information about that. I believe we have some on ours as well. Again, I'd like to thank our guests, Jared over at DataMaster. Try them out, check them out. If we can, we'd love to have you back in the future for another segment. We just an hour isn't enough, I don't think. so I'd
love to do it. Thank you, Brian, very much. It's been fantastic.
Great. Again, I'm Brian Reynolds with the Appraisal Report webinar. Thanks for being here. See you again real soon.